So this is the content of Abhidhamma, Fundamentals of Theravada. This is the second year, second semester, and I think it's the second test, maybe at least the second big test. We had a few small tests, but the last test before the final. So the content of this test was namas, rūpas, paññatti, and part of the kammaṭṭhāna paricheda. So let's start with namas. Definition and the realities. So a definition of nāma, we could say that realities that have no physical form or appearance and are so called since they are known by hearing or reading names. Because of the names, they are called nāma. They are also called arūpa, could also be called arūpa or immaterial dhammas. So under this definition of being called nāma because they are known by names, it includes nibbana as nāma. So here the dhammas would be 89 chittas, 52 chittasikas, and nibbana. But nāma sometimes can also refer to just chittas and chittasikas. Then you could define nāma according to that verb namati, right? Which is to incline. So it is the realities that incline towards an object. So that's nāma in a second sense. But here the main definition we are working with is the realities that are known through names. So it includes nibbana. Rūpa definition is the realities that are visibly formed, rūpayati rūpaṃ. And another definition is that the realities that are deformed due to the strike of opposing realities. So this is the rūpatiti rūpaṃ. So rūpayatiti rūpaṃ or rūpatiti rūpaṃ. In any case, the realities are all the 28 rūpas. Paññattis. Now, paññattis, they are conceptions, concepts. They are very often or most often perceived by the mind as existing. For example, we see living beings, for example. A man, a woman, we perceive it as existing, even though man and woman are just concepts. But even though they are perceived as existing, upon examination, such as, for example, reduction, they can be understood to be non-existing in reality. They are mentally fabricated. They are just mere subjective realities. So, for example, a cloth, a robe, for example, normally we perceive it as existing, but if reduced into smaller components, the cloth itself disappears, and then it's just a collection of threads, for example. We could keep on breaking things down until we find the ultimate realities that comprise it. No? So these are conceptions, paññatti. Comes from the root ña, to know, because they cause one to know. Paññāpeti, paññatti. Ultimate realities, they are experienced, but they are not obvious to beings. Even though we experience them, all the five senses experience ultimate realities, not paññattis. All the five senses, no? Including the sixth sometimes. But what is most often seen as existing by the, let's say, uneducated worldling is paññatti. So there are two types of paññatti, atta paññatti and nāma paññatti. Atta paññatti are concepts, paññatti, but they are meanings that can be acquired through hearing words, for example. You can know these meanings by means of words, or also by other means as well. But mainly we say through words. You can understand the meaning of things. If we talk about atta paññatti, then it refers to that meaning that does not really exist in reality. It must be if it is a paññatti, then it doesn't really exist in reality. Attha by itself could refer to something that exists in reality, paramattha, or paññatti, hinattha. So attha by itself could be existing or non-existing, but attha paññatti, for sure we can say it's non-existing. Can also be called paññatti nimitta. This is the image that the mind sees, is the paññatti nimitta. So some types of attha paññatti. There are many kinds. 5 are given here directly in Abhidhammatta Sangha. First is santana paññatti. They are concepts based on the shape of objects. We could say on the shape of mahabhutas. This is mainly based on rūpas, the shape of rūpas. So you could say, depending on the shape, we could call something a mountain, for example, or a flower, or a leaf, etc. This is depending on its shape, its arrangement. So this is santana paññatti. Samuha paññatti. This is another attha paññatti, but more based on a combination or a collection, aggregation of mahabhutas. So for example, a table, for example, is a group of mahabhutas put in a certain combination. Chairs, beds, mats, pillows, for example, also combinations of mahabhutas. So depending on this combination, this aggregation, they are called sammuha paññattis. Other paññattis are, for example, based on the aggregates of living beings seen as one thing, seen as one. So these are satta paññatti, the concept of beings, for example, human, or a deity, a lady, a man, elephant, horse, etc. These are concepts based on living aggregates, seen as one thing. Dissa paññatti, for example, is the concept of maybe directions. They are based on the movement of the sun and moon, most often. So, for example, east, west, north, these are also concepts based on the movement of the sun and moon. Dissa paññatti. Another paññatti is kala paññatti, for example, the concept of time, which is also based on the movements of the sun and the moon. Kala paññatti. So some of these kala paññattis we could say, for example, morning, evening, day, year, month. All these are concepts of time based on the rotation or the movement of the sun and moon. These are kala paññattis. Then there are other attha paññattis. These are just a few of them. For example, akasa paññatti, the concept of space. If I remember correctly, examples were like caverns or wells, for example. Nimitta paññatti is the paññattis that are used in meditation, for example. Nimitta paññatti, and so on. So these are some of the examples of attha paññatti. There could be more of them. These are attha paññatti. Now the second type of paññatti is nāma paññatti. Concepts as names or name concepts. Nāma paññattis are also concepts, but they are the names of things. They could be names that convey, for example, that a name that refers to something that exists, or it could be a name that refers to something that does not exist, for example. These are maybe the two main types. We'll see now 6 types. So nāma paññatti are the names that convey meanings of 2 kinds, either attha paññatti or paramattha, existing or not really existing. Here there is a note about the 4 types of hetu. We had the janaka hetu, ññāpaka hetu, sampāpaka hetu, and mula hetu. So these nāma paññattis are ññāpaka hetus. They are words that, when heard, they bring ideas to the mind. These ideas could be either real things or another concept. So because they bring these ideas, they are called ññāpaka. They cause you to know something. Ññāpa. no? Ñā from no. Apa is the causative, no? Ñāpa, I think. So, two types of meanings conveyed by nāma paññattis could be hinatas or paramatta. So again, it could be the name could refer to something that exists, paramatta, or a name could refer to something that does not really exist, another concept, another hinata, another atta paññatti. So what is the difference between the sound of a word, the name itself that is uttered, and its meaning? So the sound is the ultimate materiality, it's rūpa, that arises due to citta or uttu. So a sound, for example, the sound of someone's voice is produced by citta. Or a sound, for example, from a recording or some other sound that is not the voice, then it's produced by uttu. So these are the sounds. Okay, this is rūpa, it's paramatta. But the name is a concept. This concept, you can express it through sounds, through, a combination of sounds. So that's the name. The name is a concept. Only the mind can pay attention to this concept. The meaning is what that name refers to. So the meaning could be a concept or a reality that is referred to by the name. So, for example, when we hear a collection of sounds, we perceive in the mind names, words, even though the names themselves do not exist in reality. So this is just something our mind perceives based on those sounds. How are names conveyed by sound? So you intend to convey a certain concept, then you can you can say the combinations of sounds according to the standards of language. So you're saying, you're producing sounds, conveying that word that refers to something. And the listener hears the sounds, and in his mind, he understands the concept, the name, and that name leads him to either something that exists or another idea. So this is more or less how the process happens, no? Of communication. Now, this was a bit extra information. What are the mental processes that happen when we hear a word? For example, here the word pita in Pali, which is a bit like pita is a type of seat that can seat two individuals, like a bench. So when for example, we say this, the listener, he will hear the sound. So at that time, one of the 9 Sottadvaravitis, taking present Saddharamanas, take that sound, for example, P, the sound P. And it is 9 Sottadvaravitis because Atiparitaramana are not taken here. There are 6 of them, Atiparitaramana, 6 types of Vitis which take Atiparitāramanas, which are actually too short. They are just 2 vibrations of Bhavanga. And no Manodvaravitis arise subsequent to it, taking the past object. So Atiparitāramanas here are excluded. So we could say just 9. Out of the 15 that exist, only 9 of them could be over here. So 9 take present Saddharamana. Then, after that, Sottadvaraviti, Anubandhaka Manodvaravitis will take the same object, but now it's a past object. So it's the same sound, P. And this Viti will be a less than 17 Chittakana Vitis, will be Vibhuta or Avibhuta Aramana, with or without Tadaramanas. And it will take that past Saddharamana, taken by the Sottadvaraviti. After that, the same process, these 2 Vitis, actually several, no? This is just a summary, will again happen listening to, for example, the next syllable, ta. The same 2 Vitis will happen with the syllable ta. So 2 different sounds. And then at some point, one manodvaraviti will put these sounds together in the mind. They are not heard together. They are heard over many vitis, but there is this manodvaraviti that puts all together. So, for example, it would be, it takes a past sound, but they merge all these sounds together in a coherent manner. And so it's a less than 17 chittakana, vibhuta or avibhuta viti, manodara viti. Then, after those sounds are put together by this manodara viti, the next manodara viti will now pay attention to the name that is conveyed by the sounds. So now, for the first time, you take a paññatti as object, nāma paññatti. Because it is a nāma paññatti, there are no tadaramanas in the viti. So it's a manodara viti that lasts less than 17 chittakanas. And it's avibhuta, for sure. Taking this paññatti as object. Then after the name is taken, then what the name refers to will be taken as object. So this is the atta. Could be atta paññatti or could be paramattha. But here, for example, is an atta paññatti. So it's avibhuta, minus less than 17 chittakana manodara viti. So this process happens very fast, many times. And in this way, we can understand what is said. Now, 6 types of nāma paññatti. 6 types of nāma paññatti. Vidyamana paññatti, avidyamana paññatti, vidyamanena avidyamana paññatti, avidyamanena vidyamana paññatti, vidyamanena vidyamana paññatti, avidyamanena avidyamana paññatti. So not difficult to remember, just a combination of vidyamana and avidyamana. So vidyamana paññatti, these are existing paññattis. It is the name of something that actually exists. For example, chitta, vedana, patavi, nibbana. These are names, even though the name itself is a concept, it refers to something that exists. So the name of all the paramatthas are vidyamana paññattis. Avidyamana paññatti is a name of something that does not actually exist. For example, pita, mancha, ruka, surya, chanda. In English, for example, chair or man or anything that refers to, any name that refers to some other concept. For example, pita doesn't exist. You break it down, all that there is patavi, apotejo, vaya, and so on. So there is no pita. Mancha, a bed. There is no bed. You can break it down. In the end, you'll just have patavi, apotejo, vaya, and so on. So mancha itself is not a reality. So this is a name that refers to something that is not real. Avidyamana paññatti. Vidyamanena avidyamana paññatti. This is a concept, paññatti, that refers to something that exists, vidyamana, but that refers to something that does not exist, avidyamana, but it does so by means of something that exists. This is why vidyamanena, instrumental case over here. Vidyamanena. So it's a name of something that does not exist. For example, person. A person does not actually exist in ultimate realities, right? So it's a name of a person, for example, person. But you talk about this person by means of something that actually exists. So, for example, an angry person. Anger itself exists. It is a mental factor of dosa. So this exists. Anger exists, but person does not exist. So here it is said that you're talking about something that does not exist by means of something that exists. So an angry person. Same for greedy person, luddha or luddo. Greed exists, but person does not exist. So vidyamanena avidyamana paññatti. Seta manusso, a white man. White actually refers to the appearance of the kalapas, so it exists. It's the color, white. But man is just a combination of many elements taken as one. This does not exist. So this is vidyamanena avidyamana paññatti. Next one is avidyamanena vidyamana paññatti. Avidyamanena vidyamana paññatti. This is a name, a concept that refers to something that exists, vidyamana, by means of something that does not exist, avidyamanena. For example, iti paññā, woman's wisdom, the wisdom of a lady. Wisdom exists, so you're talking about something that exists, vidyamana. But woman is just a combination of elements taken as one thing. It does not actually exist in reality. So you're talking about something that exists, paññā, by means of something that does not exist, woman. Same for bherisaddo, the sound of a drum. Sound exists, but drum does not exist. So you're talking about something that exists by means of something that does not exist. Vidyamanena vidyamana paññatti. These are names for things that exist by means of something that exists as well. So both exist. Chakku vijnana, for example. Both chakku and vijnana are real. Vijnana is the chitta that arises based on the chakku, and chakku is the vattu, the chakku pasada, rūpa. The same goes for rūpa sanya. Both rūpa and sanya are existing. They are real. So vidyamanena vidyamana paññatti. Avidyamanena avidyamana paññatti. These are names of things that do not exist by means of something that also does not exist. For example, Rajaputta, Rajaputtu. Raja is a king. King is just a combination of elements taken as one. It does not really exist. And Putta is the same, the son of a king. Both are not real things. Brahmana kanya, Brahmin girl. Both of them do not exist. Brahmana and kanya are unreal, not real things. So these are the 6 types of nāma paññatti. Now, some extra notes only. There are some types of nimittas. Nimittas here are not just meditation subjects, but whenever the mind takes an object, the way it takes it or what it sees is a chitta nimitta. It's also called chitta akara. It's the image of the object that is seen by the mind. It's not directly the object, it's like an image of the object. So if this object is a concept, then the mind will see an image of a paññatti nimitta. The image, for example, could be the image of paramattha seen as one entity. Could be, we could call it paññatti nimitta. Or paramattha nimitta, for example, in vipassana, when we see realities as they are, right? But actually we see a nimitta of that reality. But that nimitta is in accordance with the nature of that reality. So it's a realistic image of the paramattha. For example, chakku vijnana only takes rūpa ramana as object. So rūpa ramana is a paramattha, it's existing, and chakku vijnana takes rūpa ramana as object, but if we take it in more detail, we say it takes the nimitta of this paramattha as object. Normally this is not discussed much. If the nimitta and the reality match, then we normally say that we are seeing the reality itself as it is directly. Usually this is not separated. So if a paramattha is taken as a paramattha, then this is a paramattha nimitta, what the mind takes. If the paramattha is seen as one entity, then what the mind sees is a hinatta a hinatta nimitta, or a paññatti nimitta, or atta paññatti nimitta. Okay, this I've already mentioned. Paramatthas have a higher degree of existence, and hinattas, it is said that they have a lower degree of existence, not complete non-existence, because they are felt by the mind as existing. They are taken as object, they are felt by the mind as existing. So they are said to have a lower degree of existence. This is why hinatta. Other information was that concepts are mind-made. They are created by the mind, right? So there is, to some extent, a contribution by the mind to create that nimitta. So not any mind can take concepts as object. This was discussed in the Aramana Sangha during the first year. Which chittas take which objects? So not every mind can take concepts as object. Now, the role of chitta nimitta in vipassana and kamma. So in vipassana, it seems like the nimitta is more important than the reality itself. What it means is that, for example, in some cases you are contemplating realities. For example, we divide the life into decades, and we contemplate those realities as impermanent, and the realities in one decade do not move on to the next decade. So it is possible that a meditator might discern realities that are, for example, from 90 to 100 years, and they see them as anicca dukkha anatta. And it is possible that with this contemplation, he may attain nibbana, even if he actually won't live from 90 to 100 years. So to some extent, inference, this could be maybe vipassana based on inference. It seems like this can also be like a support for attaining. So based on this inference, one can attain. But it doesn't seem like only based on inference. This inference seems to be a support only. So in kamma, the reality is more important than the nimitta. Giving to what one thinks is a normal ascetic, for example, you offer food to what you think is just a normal person, but is actually the Buddha. This will count in terms of kamma, under the context of kamma, it will count as giving to a Buddha, even if you don't know it's a Buddha. So under the doctrine of kamma, you will see that the reality itself is more important than the nimitta you are taking. Okay. Some more information not very related to this context, I'll skip. Sankatta. Okay. Now we enter the kammaṭṭhāna paricceda, the chapter on meditation subjects or meditation. What are the benefits of studying and comprehending the analysis of namas and rupas with its causes? This in Pali is sappacchaya nama rupa vibhaga. So this study, the study of namas and rupas and their causes, leads to suttamaya jnana, the knowledge that is born through listening, through study. But this knowledge is not able by itself to apprehend, to understand the actual nature of realities, but it serves as a base for samadhi and pañña, even sila. And then by developing at least one kammaṭṭhāna, one can reach bhavanamaya jnana, the knowledge based on meditation, contemplation. And then this can lead to the attainment of nibbana and eradication of defilement. So in the beginning, the study, the analysis of nama and rūpa and so on serves as a cause for all of these steps. Kammaṭṭhāna. What is kammaṭṭhāna? Thana is the place, the basis, or maybe the foundation for the kamma. The kamma here is the yoga kamma, the meditation itself. So you could say kammaṭṭhāna is the place for meditation. Another way you could say is it is the meditation itself. Here is a little more explanation. So you have two types of kammaṭṭhāna. Not samatha and vipassana here. The first is bhavana-rammana. This is one type of kammaṭṭhāna. So bhavana-rammana is the object of meditation, the meditation subject. Thana here means the place, which refers to the object of meditation, where the yoga kamma, the act of meditation, happens. So this object can be a paññatti or can be a paramattha. So bhavana-rammana. This could be referred to as kammaṭṭhāna, meditation subject. Or bhavana kamma. Bhavana kamma is the act of meditation, the act itself. Because a previous act of meditation can become the thana, the foundation for the subsequent act of meditation. So in this sense, kammaṭṭhāna is also the practice of meditation itself. So kamma here refers to the yoga kamma, the act of meditating. And thana here could have maybe the meaning of a place or maybe the meaning of foundation. It could mean the object or it could mean the previous act of meditation. Samatha. Samatha refers to the ekaggata, the cetasika, one-pointedness, or also called samadhi. This is the cetasika that suppresses defilements, such as kamacchanda, for example, the first nivarana, and it also suppresses gross mental factors, such as vitakka. So this is also what is done by this ekaggata. So until we reach upachara samadhi, kamacchanda is removed, and then to attain higher and higher jhanas, we have to remove the gross mental factors. So this is done by ekaggata, which is referred to as samatha. Samatha in English sometimes is translated as serenity, tranquility. Yes. Samatha kammaṭṭhāna. What is samatha and what is samatha kammaṭṭhāna? Samatha is the ekaggata. Samatha kammaṭṭhāna could mean two things, as we discussed kammaṭṭhāna previously. Could mean the object of the ekaggata, right? That suppresses defilements and gross mental factors. So, in other words, is mainly the paññattis that are the thanas for samadhi bhavana. Or samatha kammaṭṭhāna could also mean the meditation itself, the samadhi bhavana done taking these objects, these samatha kammaṭṭhāna objects. 4 benefits of samatha kammaṭṭhāna. I think there are several benefits, but 4 were chosen here. One is birth in a blissful realm, jhanas, abhinyas, and a support, mainly the concentration for vipassana. So these are 4 main benefits. But we could also say, for example, suppression of hindrances, living without the hindrances. It's another benefit of samatha kammaṭṭhāna. Or the benefit of abiding in the jhanas, okay, dittadhamma sukha viharas, or even fulfillment of paramis, conditions for future attainments as well. So this concludes samatha and samatha kammaṭṭhāna. Vipassana, by itself, it means the wisdom, the jnana, that sees namas and rūpas as impermanent, suffering, and non-self. This is the wisdom. And it is opposed, it is the opposite of what ordinary beings usually perceive. Usually we see namas and rūpas as existing, as pleasant, as self. Sorry, as existing, no, as permanent, as pleasant, as self. So this is the knowledge that sees them according to reality, in the way they actually are. Vipassana kammaṭṭhāna. So this was vipassana. If we say vipassana kammaṭṭhāna, it refers again to either the objects, nāmas and rūpas in this case, of that wisdom that sees them as anicca dukkha anatta. So the objects are called kammaṭṭhāna, vipassana kammaṭṭhāna. But it could also mean the practice itself, the vipassana bhavana, the vipassana meditation that takes these namas and rupas as object to develop this wisdom. Benefits of vipassana kammaṭṭhāna, many benefits, but mainly is magga, phala, and nibbana. Could say also there is a greater suppression of defilements by tadanga pahana. There's also a lot of merit involved, also good rebirth, and so on, fulfillment of paramis, for example. So this is vipassana and vipassana kammaṭṭhāna. Some extra notes over here, more related to this subject. For example, Pacceka Buddhas and Sammasambuddhas, they attain Nibbana, Magga Phala Nibbana, without Sutta Maya Jnana. They can, without the Sutta Maya Jnana in that life, they can attain. They can develop and attain. Bhavana Maya Jnana was just briefly mentioned here, can be divided into Dasana Bhumi and Bhavana Bhumi. But it was not explained in detail, just an extra point. Now the 40 kammaṭṭhānas, these are samatha kammaṭṭhānas. No? Dasa kasina, okay, first the big groups. Dasa kasina, dasa asubha, dasa anussatiyo, chattaro brahma vihara, also called appamanya, ekasanya, also called ahare patikula sanya, ekang vavatthānam, also called chattudhatu vavatthānam, also called, I think it's dhatu manasikara, and the chattaro arupa. Dasa kasina are patavi kasina, apo kasina, tejo kasina, vayu kasina. These are the 4 element kasinas. And then the 4 color kasinas, nila kasina, pita kasina, lohita kasina, and odata kasina. And then we have aloka kasina and akasa kasina. In the Abhidhammatta Sangaha, akasa comes first, actually. So patavi kasina refers to the disc. The disc, also called kasina mandala. And it's made, in this case, with a slightly red soil. Should not be too red, not to be too close to lohita. So it's like slightly red. Should be evenly placed on the ground, could be fixed or mobile. Not necessarily on the ground, no, but it should be on an even surface. Apokasina is the disc of water. You can put some clear water on a bowl, on a circular bowl, and use it as the disc of water. Tejokasina is a disc of fire. Could be seen, for example, through a circular frame. You could look at a fire through a circular flame, so through a circular frame. Vayokasina can be taken either through the eye door or through the body door. So through the eye door, you look at, for example, the tree branches moving due to the wind. So you pay attention to that as the concept of wind, and you're able to develop. Or you could also pay attention to the tactile sensation of the wind blowing on your body as wind, wind, wind. Nila kasina is the blue kasina. This nila sometimes could also be like a dark blue, almost sometimes translated maybe as black, sometimes even brown. But the standard, maybe you could say blue as a standard translation. So you can make it with flowers or a blue paper cloth, etc. The same goes for pita kasina, the yellow kasina. Lohita kasinas, as lohita kasina as well, the red kasina. Odata kasina, the white kasina as well. Akasa kasina, sometimes also referred to as parichinna akasa kasina, the limited space, is a disc also of space. So you could use a frame, a circular frame, and put it against the empty sky, for example, an empty place. And then you just pay attention to that circle as a circle of space, a disk of space. Alokakasina is the disk of light, which is kind of a branch of Udatta-kasina, kind of connected to Udatta-kasina. So it's a disk of light. You can make it, for example, as a light coming and, for example, falling on a wall or on the floor from a circular window or something, or a circular frame. Sometimes a candle is put inside a circular, for example, pot or a bowl. If you lay the pot on its side, you can put a candle inside, and then the light will come out and maybe land on a wall, for example, and it will be like a circular light. So you can use that as the light kasina. Some other notes are Vijnana kasina. This is sometimes used to refer to Vijnana anancha. It's actually the arupa, one of the arupa jhanas, right? Vijnananchayatana. Sometimes it's called as Vijnana kasina. Smallest kasina mandala, except for Vayokasina, yes. But the smallest kasina mandala was 1 vidati and 4 anguli of diameter. So 1 vidati is 1 span, and 4 anguli is 4 fingers. So 1 span and 4 fingers of diameter. That should be what is considered the smallest kasina disc. The largest could be bigger, the size of an umbrella, or even the threshing floor. For example, a whole piece of ground could be very big. There is the story of one who took kind of all the visible ocean in front of him as apokasina. Or you could take a huge piece of land, for example, before they sow the seeds, for example, on a field. Why are they called kasina? Kasina, the word kasina means whole, entire, total, or totality. So they are called kasina because you focus on that entire disc for meditating. So because of this entire disc, it's called kasina. This could be mandala, no? So kasina mandala means entire disc. So these are the kasinas. Dasa asubha. These are the asubha, the repulsive meditation subjects or loathsome meditation subjects. They are here 10. Uddhumataka, vinilaka, vipubbaka, vichiddaka, vikhaitaka, vikittaka, hatavikittaka, lohitaka, pulavaka, and attika. These are the 10. In English is a bloated corpse, a livid corpse, a festering corpse, a corpse which is cut up in pieces, a gnawed corpse, for example, bitten by gnawed or bitten, half-eaten by animals, scattered corpse, a hacked and scattered corpse, a bleeding corpse, or a worm-infested corpse, and a skeleton. So these are all objects that could be used for developing asubha kammaṭṭhāna, which is particularly good for suppressing lust. They are given 10 like this because each of them suppresses a particular type of lust. For example, the person who has a lot of lust for the shape of the body, then a bloated body, a bloated corpse, which the shape is all disfigured, is good to suppress that lust, to directly counter that lust for shapes. The vinilaka, it strongly suppresses the lust for the color, it's more like the color of the body. So when you see a discolored, kind of bluish body, then that lust is strongly suppressed. So and so on for each of these. These are the 10 asubha. 10 anusatis. Anusatis are recollections, right? So we have the chanusati, the 6 anusatis. They are the Buddha anusati, Dhamma anusati, Sangha anusati, Sila anusati, Chaga anusati, and Devata anusati. These are the 6 anusati. And then we have Upasamanusati, Marananusati, also called Maranasati, Kayagatasati, and Anapanasati. So the Buddha Nusati is the recollection of the Buddha's qualities. For example, Arahatta or Samma Sambuddhatta. Here a note is that it refers to the quality itself. It's not just recollecting the Buddha as an individual, but the qualities of the Buddha are the actual object. So you should explain it as, for example, Samma Sambuddhatta with the prefix meaning the nature, no? The nature. Okay, just some notes. Dhammanusati, recollection of the qualities of the Dhamma. Again, you have to take the qualities itself. So, for example, swakata as with the bhava suffix, and sanditthikata, and so on. Sanghanusati is the same, the qualities of the Sangha. Supatipannata, ujupatipannata, and so on. Sila Nusati, Chaga Nusati, and Devata Nusati are 3 anusatis that we could say that they kind of strengthen maybe or gladden one about one's own qualities. This can be helpful for people who have, for example, low self-confidence. Sila Nusati, you recollect your own sila. Chaga Nusati, you recollect your own ability of donating. Devata Nusati, you recollect your own qualities of faith, morality, learning or learnedness, and ability of donating and knowledge as well. So Saddha Sila Sutta Chagapanya. And you use the deities as a reference. In brief, you not compare yourself with the devas, but you say that devas have achieved their devahood state because of having such qualities that you also have. So you recollect your own qualities by taking devas as a reference. Upasamanusati takes the virtues of Nibbana. It's a recollection on the virtues of Nibbana. Marananusati is a recollection of one's own death. Kayagatasati is a recollection of body parts, such as Kesa, Loma, and Naka. It's also a type of kammaṭṭhāna that suppresses strongly the lust. But this one takes individual body parts. And it takes your own body parts. Anapanasati is the recollection of the in and out breath. Anapanasati is also sometimes called Mahapurisa Bhavana. These are the 10 Anusati. The 4 Brahma Viharas. The first is Metta, Brahma Vihara. Karuna, compassion, Brahma Vihara. Mudita, Brahma Vihara, is altruistic joy. And Upekha Brahma Vihara, which is like a neutrality or equanimity towards beings. And then these are the 4 Brahma Viharas. Then Ekasanya. This is the perception of the repulsiveness or the repulsive nature in food. The repulsive nature of food. This can also be used as a meditation subject. Ekam bhavattanam is the attention to the 4 great elements. These are the characteristics such as hardness, for example, in the body. So Chattu Dhatu Bhavatthana. And the 4 Arupa the four arupa here, if you take them as objects, actually it would refer to the objects of the four immaterial jhanas. But here, the answer you could just simply say akasananchayatana, vijnananchayatana, akinchanyayatana, and neva sanyana sanyayatana. So even though these are the ayatanas, the chataru arupa as objects would be the objects of these kammaṭṭhānas, right? Two of them are paññatti, two of them are chittas. Okay. So these are the 40 meditation subjects. Samatha. What are the three bhavanas? First is parikamma bhavana. The second is upachara bhavana. And the third is appana bhavana. Appana sometimes with a dot. Sometimes I think without a dot. Parikamma bhavana is the mental activity, the meditation, of establishing the mind on repeatedly contemplating and clearly cognizing the parikamma nimitta and also the uggha nimitta. So both of these nimittas are taken as meditation subject in the parikamma bhavana. It has two stages. The initial stage of parikamma bhavana focuses on the parikamma nimitta. We'll discuss now what is the parikamma nimitta. In the case, for example, of the paṭṭhavikasina, it's the clay disc. That's the parikamma nimitta. So when in the initial stage of parikamma bhavana, you're focusing on that clay disc. And the object is not vivid to the mind. Then the second stage of parikamma bhavana is when the object finally becomes vivid to the mind and parikamma samadhi is established, and the object is called uggha nimitta in this case. Then this uggha nimitta is like a vivid image of that clay disc. And we'll discuss more about the uggha nimitta later. So this second stage ends with the suppression of the hindrances and the appearance of the patibhaga nimitta. So to some kammaṭṭhānas, there is a suppression of hindrances, but no patibhaga nimitta. So then in that case, we consider that the end of parikamma bhavana. And the other kammaṭṭhānas that do have a patibhaga nimitta, then this also happens at the same time, the suppression of hindrances and the appearance of the patibhaga nimitta. So this marks the end of parikamma bhavana. During this bhavana, the hindrances disturb. Okay, they do disturb during this bhavana. Now the upachara bhavana is a meditation, the stage of meditation in which the mind is already free from the nivaranas. This suppression happens strongly when you first enter the upachara bhavana, when the patibhaga nimitta appears. But actually this suppression of nivaranas goes on, continues. Even when you're developing the jhanas already, the suppression of hindrances is still, in a way, going on. But here, at this point, it happens very strongly, very evidently. So upachara bhavana is the mental activity done from the moment the hindrances are suppressed, called vikambhana pahana or nivarana vikambhana, and the patibhaga nimitta appears until the arising of the appana citta. So the jhana itself is already appana bhavana, not upachara bhavana. So until that, the arising of that appana citta, it is upachara bhavana. Appana bhavana is the meditation, the mental activity that has mahagata or lokuttara cittas. Appana bhavana. These are the three bhavanas. Now the three nimittas. Parikamma nimitta, uggha nimitta, and patibhaga nimitta. Parikamma nimitta is the preliminary object. For example, in the case of the paṭṭhavikasina, it's the clay disc. That external object, material object, is the parikamma nimitta. And it is observed and contemplated repeatedly during the initial stage of the parikamma bhavana until the acquisition of the uggha nimitta. So this is the parikamma nimitta. You look at it with your eyes and you try to recollect it. Close your eyes, try to remember it, focusing on the clay disc. Uggha nimitta is the acquired meditation sign. This is when the object, the parikamma nimitta, is seen clearly or evidently in the mind, just as you see it with your eyes. You see, as if seen with the eyes. So it's cognized with the mind, and it is the object of the second stage of the parikamma bhavana. So uggha nimitta is still object of parikamma bhavana. Don't think that uggha nimitta is the object of upachara bhavana. No, uggha nimitta is parikamma bhavana. Then patibhaga nimitta, maybe some more information about the uggha nimitta is that it has the flaws. It has the flaws of the parikamma nimitta. It has the flaws of the parikamma nimitta, and it cannot be expanded. Cannot be expanded because the patibhaga nimitta can be gradually expanded. Even for some individuals, it expands naturally, and but the uggha nimitta you cannot expand it. It's just like the image seen with the eyes. The patibhaga nimitta, okay, is the sign that appears clearly without defects, and it appears when the hindrances are suppressed and the mind gets purified, and it can be expanded. But it depends on the kammaṭṭhāna. No, we cannot say this in general. It can be expanded in the case of kasinas here. These are the three nimittas. Patipada and abhiññā. These are two stages of meditation, of development. What are they? And the puggalas. So we have two stages, two or maybe let's say patipada stage and abhiññā stage, and according to how difficult these stages are, we have 4 puggalas. So patipada is the period of the parikamma bhavana. Both the initial and second stage together are patipada. So for some individuals is easy. It's an easy progress. They can easily suppress the hindrances and reach upachara bhavana. This is sukha patipada. For some other individuals, it's dukkha patipada. They cannot easily suppress the hindrances and reach upachara bhavana. Abhiññā is the subsequent stage, which is the upachara bhavana. It does not include appana bhavana. And abhiññā here does not refer to supernatural powers, like the abhiññās that we develop based on the 5th rūpa vācara jhana. This abhiññā is just a stage of meditation. It's the upachara bhavana stage. Then for some individuals, they are called kippa abhiññā. They can quickly and easily develop this upachara bhavana. And others are dandha abhiññā, kind of like slow knowledge. They not easily develop. Here in this stage, you have to, according to my memory, balance the faculties. So, because we have these 4, some individuals are sukha patipada kippa abhiññā, or sukha patipada dandha abhiññā, dukkha patipada kippa abhiññā, or dukkha patipada dandha abhiññā. So 4 puggalas. Now the charitas. What is the purpose behind teaching various kammaṭṭhānas? The Buddha left 40 kammaṭṭhānas for samatha, to help different people with different disposition, different characters, different inclinations to remove the hindrances, because it is difficult to develop concentration with a kammaṭṭhāna that does not suit oneself, one's tendencies. So here we have a simple analysis of the temperaments, the tendencies, or the characters. Actually, There is much more analysis than this. The Buddha himself can divide. There is a passage which mentions 84,000 charitas. But here we just divide them into 6. So it's a very simple classification. Raga charita is the first one. Dosa charita, moha charita, saddha charita, buddhi charita, and vitakka charita. Raga charita is the person who has a lustful temperament. Then we have the suitable and unsuitable kammaṭṭhānas for them. Suitable kammaṭṭhānas, since they have a strong lust, the kammaṭṭhānas that strongly oppose lust are suitable for them. They are the 10 asubha, kayagata sati, also called koṭṭhāsa bhavana. And in case they do practice kasina, darker kasinas would be better. Darker shades, darker tones would be better. Unsuitable objects for them are objects that are easily objects of lust. For example, living beings, for example, Brahma Viharas, or especially the opposing sex, the opposite sex. Color kasinas are also, they can be easily, like they are pleasant, beautiful objects, especially the bright colors. They are not very suitable for lustful characters. There is this in the Petakopadesa, the Buddha, it is mentioned that the Buddha does not give metta to a strong raga charita. Yes. But again, this is just a simple classification, so maybe there are some raga charitas which may have some conditions which the Buddha may give them, even metta, you see. So this is just a simple classification. Now the next one is dosa charita. It's an angry temperament. Suitable and unsuitable kammaṭṭhānas for them. We'll discuss actually more about them, characteristics of them, a little later. Suitable are those that strongly oppose the anger. So the 4 color kasinas, nila, pita, lohita, udatta, they oppose dosa. They are very pleasant, beautiful objects. And the 4 brahmaviharas, the 4 appamanyas, also oppose the anger. So metta, karuna, mudita, and upekka. So these are 8 suitable objects for them, kammaṭṭhānas. Unsuitable objects are the unpleasant objects. For example, asubhas and kayagata sati. So quite the opposite of raga charita. Moha charita is a deluded temperament. For them, suitable object is an object that prevents wandering and confusion. So anapanasati is the one that is suitable for them because it is repetitive and it settles the confused and wandering mind. If they do practice kasinas, large kasinas, puttula kasinas, are better for mohacharitas. I don't know exactly the reason why, but it seems like in large kasinas, I think the tendency, I think it was because they have a tendency to drowsiness, to avoid drowsiness, lethargy, or disinterest maybe in the object. So if it is too small, they might tend to feel like drowsy. Unsuitable here in this case was not mentioned directly. Mohacharitas. Saddha charita are faithful temperaments. Suitable objects for them are those that strengthen faith. So you see, so far we have objects that oppose these states of raga, dosa, and moha. This one, it actually strengthens the character. So the 6 anusatis, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Sila, Chaga, and Devata anusatis, are suitable objects for saddha charita. Unsuitable are not mentioned here. Buddhi charita is a discerning temperament. Here again will strengthen the wisdom, will not oppose the wisdom. They are objects which are normally profound, deep. So upasamanusati, marananusati, ahare patikula sanya, chatuddhatu vavattana. These are the objects that are more profound and maybe more suitable for a discerning, investigative temperament. These are not very suitable for other charitas. They are especially for buddhi charita. Then anapanasati was here added as also maybe a suitable object for them, but is not directly mentioned, I think, at least not in the Abhidhammatta Sangraha, I think. This is buddhi charita. Vitakka charita is a discursive temperament. Suitable objects for them, they are objects that prevent wandering and confusion. So anapanasati as well, just like moha charita, because of its repetitive nature, it helps settle the confused and the wandering mind. And in this case, small kasina discs are better for them. It's the opposite of moha. So because if they are too big kasina, the kasina is too big, then they tend to get distracted with large objects. Here we didn't discuss more details, but for example, Vitakka Charita better be in a smaller place, because if they have many objects around them, they may get distracted more easily as well. So unsuitable objects here were not mentioned. Vitakka Charita. So these are the 6 charitas, and it's mentioned that it's these charitas, they occur in degrees. So someone may have, for example, they may be a strong raga charita and maybe a mild dosa charita. So they mix up. There are different flavors and different intensities of these charitas. Now this was not for the exam, but they are traits or characteristics of these charitas, which helps us identify them more easily. So raga charita, 7 are given. They have strong attachment to people and properties. They are not satisfied easily with whatever is received. They tend to overprotect things, to be overprotective of properties. They have strong greed towards things, such as foods, drinks, garments, ornaments, and so on. They have strong, maybe thirst for these things, an attachment. They do activities, they try to make things beautiful and neat in a lustful manner. And they maintain the body, their properties, their garments, and their dwelling place, and so on, also in this beautiful, neat manner, always kind of looking for beauty. They like beautiful and attractive things, so they easily see beauty. They easily have this perception of beauty on things. Even on trifling things, things that are just a little bit beautiful, they may see beauty in it. And this raga charita, they tends to see qualities, even too much, even unreal qualities. You may even get attached to even unreal qualities. So later we'll discuss it is close to saddha in this aspect. Dosa charita, some of the characteristics given, they are frequently angry and annoyed, and they even trifle matters make them angry. Just like trifle beautiful, even just slightly beautiful things may make the raga charita see beauty and feel attachment. Even trifle unpleasant things make this dosa charita angry or annoyed. So even sometimes without any reason, these individuals may feel angry. They tend to hate others. They tend to have enemies and hold grudges. They have the inability, or they tend to have the inability to sustain friendship for a long period. They get excited in a negative sense during activities. They feel afraid easily. They change moods quickly. They have less attachment towards people and things because they tend to focus on faults and shortcomings. So they tend not to have much attachment to people and things. And they, here it's mentioned, they tend to like spicy food. So the dosa, they tend to see defects, faults, shortcomings, even unreal ones. So in a way, it is close to wisdom. So we'll discuss a little more about that soon. Moha-charita has here 5 traits. The inability to understand deep matters. They have difficulty understanding things very deeply and complicated. They have a tendency to be easily deceived. They kind of depend too much on others' opinions and what other people say. They don't have a very strong opinion, like they're based on their own understanding, based on their own ideas. They consider right and wrong, good and bad, mainly based on what others say. And they have difficulty in giving up wrong ideas, wrong conceptions, moha-charita. And they have the inability to do any activity very well. So they tend to have also abundance of tinamidda, restlessness, kukucha, and also vichikicha, doubts. Moha-charita. Now, saddha-charita. They have a willingness, a tendency to give, to be magnanimous. They like to meet virtuous people with good qualities. They like to listen to Dhamma, sermons, and so on. And they trust easily, especially people who should be trusted, virtuous people, and so on. And they are frequently glad, frequently happy. And this saddha has the tendency of seeing qualities. This is why they feel this saddha. They tend to focus on qualities of others. And these qualities are usually actual qualities, real qualities. So in a way, it is close to raga, because raga, the lust, also focus on qualities, but sometimes unreal qualities. Buddhi charita. These buddhi charitas are easy to instruct. They tend to have good, virtuous friends. They have mindfulness and wisdom. They have good ability to understand deep, complicated matters. And they usually act only after having investigated and thought very well, planned. And they don't tend to accept opinions just because someone has said it. And doing all activities neatly and properly. So this is in a different way from the lustful character. It's a little, not in a lustful way, but just because of being organized and efficient and neat. So the buddhi, which is the wisdom, tends to actually see defects, but these are true defects, actual defects. So in a way, it is close to the dosa. Vitakka charita have difficulty in achieving concentration. They talk excessively. They have a lot of thoughts, so they tend to talk a lot. They associate and are together with many people very often, so they like being and associating with people. Frequently think about various matters. They always have many thoughts, many plans, and they are often changing plans. They are not delighted. They have a tendency of not being delighted with wholesome deeds. And they change ideas very quickly, rapid change of ideas. So raga and saddha are closely related. Why? Raga sees unreal qualities and saddha sees real qualities. So because of that, both of them see qualities. So in a way, they are closely related in this sense. Dosa and buddhi are also closely related because both of them see faults. Dosa sees unreal faults and wisdom sees real faults. Moha and vitakka are also closely related. Here it was not, I think it was not clearly explained, but both are confused, both wonder a lot. So some extra notes. So there is in Usada Kirtana, in the Dhammasanga Niyatthakatha, there is a good explanations about how individuals get their charitas. And the intensity of defilements at the time of accumulating the kamma influences the charita one may have. So the charita actually changes every life depending on the kamma that is giving results. But because we tend to accumulate kamma having a certain character, the character tends to kind of repeat itself through many lives. Bodhisattvas, for example, they create a momentum of good charitas, no? By doing better actions and having better patisandhis, ever better, ever better. Charitas also occur in different intensities. This is what we discussed already. It is said that if moha, in particular, strongly affects the kamma when we are accumulating, then it tends to produce a dvihetuka patisandhi. But not always, because there are kammaṭṭhānas prescribed to mohacharitas. So if they were all dvihetukas, then I think we could say they were not able to develop kammaṭṭhānas. So because there are kammaṭṭhānas prescribed to them, it seems that mohacharitas can be tihetukas as well, but it's not confirmed. Now, bhavanas, jhanas, and nimittas of each kammaṭṭhāna. So basically, it's all kammaṭṭhānas divided according to bhavana, according to jhana, and according to nimitta. So according to the bhavana, we have parikamma bhavana. We have all kammaṭṭhānas, all 40, have parikamma bhavana. And 10 of them have parikamma and upachara bhavana. They are the 6 anusati, upasamanusati, marananusati, ahare patikula sanya, and chattuddhatava vattana. And the remaining 30 have parikamma, upachara, and appana bhavanas. So this is according to bhavana. Now according to jhanas. Kammaṭṭhānas that do not produce any jhanas. They are 10, the 6 anusati, upasamanusati, marananusati, ahare patikula sanya, and chattuddhatava vattana. And those that produce the first jhana, those that can produce the first jhana, they are 11, the 10 asubhas and kayagata sati. They produce only the first jhana, only the first jhana. Not the first jhana in general, just only specifically the first jhana. So 10 asubhas and kayagata sati. And why do they only lead to the first jhana? Because these are very unpleasant objects, and the mind has this natural inclination to pleasant objects. So it requires the strength of vitakka to be firmly established on these repulsive objects. This is why only the first jhana can be developed with these unpleasant objects. Now, kammaṭṭhānas that can develop up to the 4th jhana. 4th jhana here is the abhidhamma 4th jhana. They are 3, metta, karuna, and mudita brahma viharas. And what is the reason for them not having the 5th jhana? Because these kammaṭṭhānas, they require somanasa to strongly oppose the domanasa that happens together, supporting the dosa. So this dosa is the root of the counterparts of metta, karuna, and mudita. Metta has as counterpart dosa. Karuna has as its counterpart vihimsa. And mudita has as counterpart issa. So they are all dosa mula chittas. They all have this domanasa. So in order to strongly oppose them, you need the somanasa. Another reason could also be said is that they require the somanasa to be powerful enough to be appana chittas. Without the somanasa, there is an opinion of some old teachers that they cannot arise without somanasa. But according to Abhidhammatta Sangha's opinion, is that they do arise with upekha vedana, but they are not very strong. So they need the somanasa to be strong enough to be appana. Now, kammaṭṭhānas that only produce the 5th rūpa vācara jhana, only the 5th, Rupavachara jhana. This is the Upekha Brahma Vihara. It only produces the fifth jhana because it requires Upekha Vedana to have a strong and intense enough neutrality. This is the Tatra Majjhattata Cetasika, neutrality to the suffering and happiness of beings. So Tatra Majjhattata Cetasika arises with Somanasa, for example, but in order for it to be strong enough to be Apana Chitta towards the suffering and happiness of beings, there must be Upekha Vedana. Now, kammaṭṭhānas that can produce all jhanas, or we can say all rūpavachara jhanas. These are 11, the 10 kasinas and anapanasati. Here, one note is that the 10 kasinas, it is not right to say that they produce the arupa jhanas. Even though we develop the arupa jhanas based on the kasinas later on, right? But the kasinas themselves are not the objects of the arupa jhanas. So it is correct to say that the 10 kasinas produce all the rūpavachara jhanas. Or because rūpavachara jhanas also include all 5 jhanas, you could say that the 10 kasinas can produce all jhanas, but not the arupa jhanas. For arupa jhanas, they are all 5th jhanas, right? So these 4 kammaṭṭhānas can produce these 4. So each one produces their respective jhana. Okay, now here, all the combinations of how many and which are the ones that can produce which jhana. So how many and what are the kammaṭṭhānas that can produce the first jhana? There are 25. 10 kasinas, 10 asubha, kayagatasati, anapanasati, metta, karuna, and mudita. How many and what are the kammaṭṭhānas that can produce the second jhana? They are 14. Metta, karuna, mudita, 10 kasina, and anapana. Okay. How many and what are the ones that can produce the third jhana? They are again 14, the same 14. And again, for the 4th jhana, they are also the same 14. And now, how many and what are the ones that can produce the rūpavachara 5th jhana? These are 12. The Upekha Brahma Vihara, 10 kasinas, and anapana. Now, how many and what are the kammaṭṭhānas that can produce the arūpavachara 5th jhana? Only the 4 arupa can produce the arūpavachara 5th jhana. How many and what are the ones that can produce the 5th jhana in general, both rūpa and arūpavachara? Then we just combine them into 16 kammaṭṭhānas, upekha, 10 kasinas, and anapana. How many and what are the ones that can only produce the first jhana? Now it's specific only the first jhana. Then they are 11, the 10 asubhas and kayagatasati. How many and what are the ones that can only produce the second jhana? None of them can only produce the second jhana. The same for the 3rd and 4th jhana. Now, how many and what are the ones that can only produce the 5th jhana? Then upekas and arupa. Okay. Now, this was according to jhanas. Now, according to nimittas, we have parikamma, ugha, and patibhaga nimittas. So all kammaṭṭhānas have parikamma and ugha nimittas. But only 22 kammaṭṭhānas have parikamma, ugha, and patibhaga nimitta. These 22 are 10 kasinas, 10 asubhas, kayagatasati, and anapanasati. Now, what are the kammaṭṭhānas that have appana samadhi, they have jhana, but no patibhaga nimitta? They are the 4 appamanyas, the 4 brahmaviharas, and the 4 arupa jhanas. They do have jhanas, but for arupas not arupa jhana, just for arupa. They do have jhanas, but they do not have patibhaga nimittas. We could also say lokuttara jhanas also do not have patibhaga nimitta as object, and I think maybe abhinyas as well, but this is just my question, a question I have. how can the 10 meditation subjects that only lead to upachara samadhi not have a patibhaga nimitta? If upachara samadhi focuses on a patibhaga nimitta, how come they have upachara samadhi if the definition of upachara samadhi says that it must have a patibhaga nimitta as object? Actually, it does not have to have. That upachara samadhi is actually not a real upachara samadhi. So upachara samadhi is a term for the samadhi in the vicinity of appana samadhi, normally. More strictly speaking, no? So a real upachara samadhi is only found in kammaṭṭhānas that lead to mahagata jhanas. Okay. The upachara samadhi attained by these 10 meditation subjects, for example, Buddha Nusati, is not a real upachara samadhi, strictly speaking. But it's still called so because it has a similar characteristic of culminating with the suppression of the hindrances. So when the hindrances are suppressed, it is called upachara samadhi. So in these kammaṭṭhānas, the hindrances are suppressed. Even though no patibhaga nimitta appears, we can still call that upachara samadhi because of this similar characteristic of having the hindrances suppressed. So now we have a chart of this progression of samatha. It's just the chart including all of this information kind of together on a timeline. So if we take, for example, the 3 nimittas we have, parikamma nimitta and uggha nimitta. So maybe I'll go like step by step. So in the beginning we have a parikamma nimitta, for example, the clay disc. And then we start developing, that's parikamma bhavana, the first stage of parikamma bhavana. It is also the stage of development called patipada. So we develop that with the parikamma nimitta, and at some point the object becomes vivid and the uggha nimitta appears, this vivid object, just like we have seen with the eyes, the parikamma nimitta. So when the uggha nimitta appears, then the samadhi begins as parikamma samadhi. So we continue developing this parikamma bhavana, now with parikamma samadhi, still within the period of patipada. We continue until the hindrances are suppressed, the patibhaga nimitta appears, and upachara samadhi is established. This moment is also the end of patipada and the beginning of the stage of abhinya. So this stage has patibhaga nimitta as object. So this patibhaga nimitta without flaws that can be expanded, it's a pure concept, suddha paññatti. So now we continue developing with this patibhaga nimitta. Now this development is called upachara bhavana. And here the 5 jhana factors become very present and are strengthened, and they are gradually strengthened more and more and more until we reach the absorption. So the absorption marks the beginning of appana samadhi. It also begins the appana bhavana, and it is the end of the abhinya stage of meditation. So this is the progression of the samatha. So here are just some extra notes about what I said, suddha paññatti, no? Suddha paññatti. For example, the patavikasina is a suddha paññatti. This is the patibhaga nimitta, okay? It's a suddha paññatti. Because it is not based on the color or the hardness of the patavi. You are not paying attention to the color of patavi, and you're not paying attention to the hardness of patavi. Both of these things would be realities, right? So we are paying attention to just the concept of the clay disc. So patavikasina, especially the patibhaga nimitta, is Suddha paññatti. The Uggaha nimitta, the nature of this nimitta, since it is what we saw with the eyes open, it is actually a paramattha object, a past ruparamana, you see. The parikamma nimitta is the object itself, it's rūpa, and we mainly pay attention to it as a concept, but you are seeing, through the eye door, you are seeing ruparamanas of that clay disc. But you're not paying attention to it as rūpa, nor as color, nor as a hardness. You're paying attention to it as just earth, simply earth, as a concept of earth. So, Suddha paññatti is a term for the paññatti which is not based on realities. It's a pure paññatti. So, for example, the Patibhaga nimitta here of the clay disc is a pure paññatti. But Missaka paññatti is the paññatti, but it is based on a reality, connected to reality. Okay, so for example, a man or a woman, it is a paññatti. But it is a Missaka paññatti because it's based on realities, based on those aggregates, living aggregates, right? So you can differentiate paññattis as Suddha and Missaka. So here ends the content of this test. This was the second year and second semester, the second main test that we had about nāmas, rūpas, paññattis, and kammaṭṭhāna.